welcome to Check It Out, Comrade, an indie game podcast where every 2 weeks we bring you 2 games by the people for the people and tell you what we like about them. I'm Nick Glover.
And I'm Brayden Cameron.
And this week we're doing Realm Grinder and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Yes, 2 games whose names mean nothing.
And the games couldn't be more alike. Like, honestly, we're 2 of the same game. I don't know why we even bothered doing both.
It's true, they're basically the same.
They're the same. So yeah, let's go ahead. I guess let's go ahead and start with Realm Grinder. That is technically the kind of potato game for this one.
That's correct.
So Realm Grinder is made by Congregate, the famous Flash game community website.
Mm-hmm.
I think they worked with that Flash game company that makes a bunch of stuff, Armor Games, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this is it's an incremental clicker game.
Yes.
Of the cookie clicker ilk, but much further evolved from the old cookie clicker days.
Yeah, it's surprisingly deep.
It is incredibly deep for a game where all you do is tap and click on upgrades every once in a while and watch the numbers get higher and higher.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very interesting. So it's about growing a kingdom, technically.
Yes.
And aligning with these different factions that kind of all have their own sort of play style as to whether more active or emphasize more magic or a specific style of upgrading your buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the real appeal of this over other incremental clickers is that there is just a ton of stuff to unlock and a lot of stuff that are like deep mechanics that you don't get until you've been playing the game for weeks.
Right. Or in my case, I've been playing it for months, and I'm still at the point where I'm unlocking things.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't get very far compared to you. I've gotten you start off and there's 6 different races, 6 different factions, 3 evil, 3 good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can unlock a neutral faction,
right?
Which is 3 more races. And then
you get to unlock the mercenaries, who are their own it's kind of ridiculous when you have good, evil, and neutral, and then you have mercenary, which exists outside of any of those 3.
Right. And then mechanically, I've gotten up to unlocking excavations. I haven't gotten to mercenaries yet, and I haven't gotten to the reincarnation or whatever bit yet. So I know of elements yet to come that are kind of the next steps that I haven't gotten to.
Right. The game obviously just keeps expanding and expanding to the point where, and this is probably not a spoiler, but I will give you a bit of a time skip ahead, 10 seconds or whatever, that the numbers in the game get so large that they run the risk of breaking the game, and it forces you to do kind of like a hard restart. Where it just like shifts the numbers over to smaller numbers again. Yeah.
The numbers in this get into abbreviations of lengths of numbers I've never heard of in my life.
Yeah, and I remember playing this and being so excited about it that I was like looking up what the numbers actually meant and how to pronounce them and how big they actually were. It was really fun.
Yeah, I think like the quadrillion is about as high as I remember, and then after that it just continues adding on more letters to the end, and I don't know what any of those are.
Anything past dodecadillion is like I don't even know. That doesn't even sound real, and I know it is.
So yeah, like I said, kind of the base mechanics. You click to get some money, then you use that money to buy buildings, which will do some automatic production for you. You unlock spells that you can do, which will increase production in one way or another, or some other effect. And then the kind of the meta mechanics that you get to with the excavations that I'm at right now is you can spend a heavy chunk of money to excavate, to dig. Yes. And you might bring up a relic of one sort or another, although the chances are based on what you're currently playing as in some instances, and all of those are based on like a a percentage of how many of a total number of a building you have, or like mana production. It gets to be like super crazy low percent possibility of you getting something. But if you look it up on the wiki, you can figure out kind of what you need to do in order to increase your chances of digging something up.
Yeah, and the game is unfortunately very wiki heavy. It gets to a point, and especially, which you haven't gotten to, but when you get to the point where you're playing with the mercenaries, it's about optimization, because you are spending a lot of time playing it, and you do want to make progress. And sometimes when you'll get to what they refer to as gem walls. And that's where you're just kind of like hitting a certain number of gems before you can do a abdication to get your like next improvements. And that can be really annoying. So there is, I guess, part of the problem with it being so deep and so intricate is that there is so much room for doing something optimally, and so much. You can just play the game however you want to, and you'll eventually make progress. But if you want to, continue at a certain pace, it does require a lot of outside research.
Yeah. The main, I think, fallback of this game is just how reliant it is on external information. There's not a whole lot of telling you what's going on in the kind of meta sense. Within the game itself. It'll tell you kind of what the powers you're buying, or not powers, but the upgrades you're buying are going to do for you and how they're going to affect your output. But it's not going to tell you what sort of things you can excavate, or there's all these different trophies, and some of which are called secret trophies, and literally there's no way to know how to get those without looking them up.
And some of them, when you've played for a while, you can look at it and see the name of it and kind of guess.
Yeah.
But there's also so much of that game that's just is completely unlockable to you, or is completely unlocked for a very long time when you're playing it.
Oh yeah. I've seen like there's people who like put up guides on how to best like get some of these secret trophies and stuff, and a lot of them are like you have to be at R47 before you can even have the output necessary to get yourself what you're trying to get here.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, it's a fun little game to be running on your phone, to just kind of check in on every once in a while, or spend an evening looking at the wiki and trying to actually meet some sort of goals.
Yeah, I leave it on the browser at work and check in on it every few minutes, every hour or so, and that works pretty well for me. That gets me 8 solid hours of gameplay. And it's nice because, as you mentioned, like the different gameplays, kind of you can tailor a bit towards your level of commitment to the game. If you want to be doing a lot of clicking, you can play as the elves, or you can play as the fairy. If you want to, take it easy, you could play as goblins or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, if you're not going to be online for a while, play as the undead. They get better when you're offline.
Yeah, they get better production by not even having it open at all.
Right, exactly.
So, in a more general sense, have you played any other of these sort of incremental clicker games or any idle games like this before?
Yeah, I've played quite a few, but never for very long. I played like ones where you're supposed to be making like a power station, and I've played some other ones where it's very like it's more fantasy based, where it's more like combat based, where you're playing as a hero or a series of heroes that are running through a map and killing things. There's a lot of those, but nothing that was like as deep as this. It seems like there were things that wanted to get that way, but they just had there was like a level to get into them that was too difficult for me. Like it was just too time consuming to get to a spot where I felt like I was making progress. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. My first, when Cookie Clicker kind of first ran its gauntlet, I checked that out for a brief moment and didn't really understand the appeal.
Yeah.
But then there was a Steam sale where the kind of metagame was a clicker game that was a communal effort. I don't know if you saw that, but there was like this kind of monster defeating.
I think 2 of those, right? There was like a summer and a winter sale, and like if you just clicked a whole bunch and then you did some things, everyone got 20% off of Witcher 2 or something.
Yeah, so, and there was like one of them, they like separated everyone up into teams.
Mm-hmm.
You just got randomly assigned a color, and then they announced the winner at the end as to who won. And there became this whole kind of meta community around the game where people were installing user scripts for their browsers to kind of help cast the right spells and like click at the right times.
Yeah. Were you making one?
I don't know. I don't think I was making anything specifically. I was like really involved because I had 2 of my best friends in town, and all 3 of us were just sitting on our laptops and like being part of the organized effort to like win. And there wasn't anything to it other than just this, number competition that Steam had put into it. But it was a real fun. That was a real nice twist, I think, on the kind of whole clicker thing, was making it so that it was multiple people against each other, not just you versus a computer.
And it had some real life applications too. So that, I mean, even if it's just bragging rights, the thing about Realm Grinder, which I think is somewhat a problem, is that even though there's like congregate leaderboard and things like that, it's a very lonely game. And it's like, I'm just doing this thing in complete isolation, and I'm building a kingdom, but there's no like attachment to the outside world.
Oh, and explaining it to anyone not familiar with the concept is a complete mess.
Yeah.
And makes no goddamn sense, which is completely understandable. Like it's hard to understand what actually is appealing about watching the numbers go up. But way back, when I was a wee youngster, I had discovered Idle RPG. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
I don't think so.
It's a Windows application that you just run, and you just run it, and it has a feed of what your character's like RPG stats are, and then at the bottom is like a text feed that is printing out kind of your character getting a quest and going into like every monster that it defeats.
Yeah.
And then every time they level up and what their points are spent on.
Yeah.
And it's just, you just watch. There's no graphics or anything. You just watch an RPG get played out, like a text RPG, in the corner of your window. And the longer you run it, the bigger stuff it starts fighting.
Yeah.
Completely idle game, which I don't know who came up with the concept, but clearly there's a gold mine involved in just like, it's proto Twitch, really. Like you're not, instead of watching someone play video games, you're just watching a video game play itself.
Yeah, and that is kind of what's happening. And I think there must be some sort of serotonin endorphin squirt for people who enjoy unlocking things in games, because that's exactly what this is just like achieving a goal. Unlocking a new thing, getting a new ability, like all of those things are all wrapped up into a game that you don't even have to try that hard. All it takes is existing to make it happen.
Yeah, it's a real interesting, weird concept, but I'm glad you introduced me to this game, because it is pretty fun to get that little serotonin squirt every once in a while for something new you've unlocked.
Yeah, and if you keep playing it, we'll get into it. There's so much crazy stuff that happens. So
I'm looking forward to it. I'm right now. I'm just trying to get through gem walls. Essentially, I've got a big series of those going right now. So let's move on to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Okay, so it's an idle clicker.
It's an idle clicker. No, if you haven't heard about PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds yet, it's a third-person massive multiplayer shooter. Which is based on a series of mods that were for Arma and for H1Z1.
Right.
Where the core concept of the game is based on Battle Royale, the movie, the Japanese movie, where 100 people are dropped off onto an island with nothing but the clothes on their back, and it goes down until there's one survivor.
Yeah.
And the way that the game forces that conflict is there's a bunch of loot everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's hotspots for where that loot is dropped, and the game has this circle that shows up on the map that has an ever shrinking play area. Essentially, when you are outside of that circle, and you get a heads up, where the circle is going to be, like ever decreasing amount of time beforehand.
Yeah.
And if you're outside of that circle, you take an ever-increasing amount of damage.
Right.
So the goal is to keep not getting screwed by the circle and fight your way through everyone you run into so that you're the last person or team surviving.
Right. And that's one of the things that I like most about this game is that it has those 3 really good game modes where you can just play by yourself, you can play with a partner, which I think is very advantageous, or you can actually form a full squad of up to 5, I think, right?
It's 3 or 4.
Okay.
And you can go into any of those modes in as a single player if you want to.
Right.
But good luck with that.
I can't like, it would be really hard to do, I think.
Yeah.
But the advantage of, like, when you're out there in the wilderness by yourself, normally, having 3 people have your back is really helpful and important.
They play incredibly different.
Yeah.
Like playing a singles game where everyone that you're going up against is solo is a like vastly different experience from the group ones.
Yeah.
In fact, I can't figure out if it's harder or easier. Like it's such a different style of game.
Yeah, exactly.
But so as a heads up, if you haven't seen yet, we did create a Check It Out Comrade specific YouTube channel because Brayton, Will, and I got together and played some 3 players against on the 3 and 4 player group mode.
Yeah,
and had I think about a 2-hour session of playing.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And Brayton, so I've been playing this for a while, but Will had been playing for I think a couple days, and you had been playing for 1.
Yeah, I put in like an hour of gameplay ahead of that.
And we had some real fun ones. One where Brayton lost all audio for a moment.
Yeah.
And a couple ones where we just got screwed right off the bat.
Yeah.
But we actually ended up winning our final game.
Yeah, that's the only game I've won, and I'm gonna say I, as in someone
who
was on my team, that wasn't me, has won. But I did manage to get a 2nd place on a solo, which I feel is really good for me, because I'm really terrible at video games to begin with.
You're not. I keep telling you, you're not. You gotta have some confidence. No, yeah. I've won 1 solo game myself as well. That I've placed top 10 quite a few times, but there was 1 solo win, and I'm not sure I'm gonna go back for a while.
Yeah.
The stress of playing a solo game and getting into that top bit. It
is really nerve-wracking.
And this whole game, even with teams, it kind of alleviates some of the stress because you're goofing around with your friends and stuff.
Right.
Single player, like, Christ, my heart is on fire when I play this game.
Yeah, it's every noise you think is someone killing you, and every time you're by yourself, you also think someone is like aiming a gun at you. And then depending on your luck, because some of it is luck for where the circle's going to form and where you're deciding to land. Because when you land on the island, you don't know where the initial circle is going to be.
Right.
So you could be on the opposite side of the island, and then you're spending almost the entire game chasing the circle.
Yeah.
And that can be good for you, or it can be really bad for you.
Yeah, we haven't. I don't think we specified in particular, but the map that you're playing on is massive. Mm-hmm. You can be pretty damn spread out from everyone else in the game up until the circle starts forcing everyone together.
Yeah.
And crossing the map, like even with one of the few vehicles that are in the game, can still. I think it takes like a good solid 10-15 minutes to drive from one end to the other.
Yeah, and that's assuming the vehicle that you found has enough gas to get you there.
Right. Or doesn't hit some little bump and go flying somewhere in between.
I've been watching, if you're interested in the game but you don't want to shell out the $30 to buy it right away, Northern Lion has been posting every day with his squad.
Yeah.
The Let's Go. And
let's go.
Yeah, and it's been really fun. I think it's episode 100, or maybe it's the one after that, where they just spent a lot of the video trying to ramp over houses with motorcycles, which is not what the game is designed for, but it was really great.
Yeah, his videos are really good, and I think that actually brings to light one of the reason why I wanted to record it is this this game is a really fun game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I think more so than a lot of other games. It's as Will had so nicely put it. It's very emergent.
Mm-hmm.
What happens each game is really unique, just because you're at the mercy of the game's randomization elements and also 100 other people.
Yeah.
Or 99 other people. It's a totally different experience on the same map. Completely different experience every time.
Yeah.
And so it makes for some really entertaining work background watching. If you've got nothing else going on.
If you are paying a lot of attention, it's really easy to get sucked into that tension too, because you're watching this person, and it's the same as when you're playing the game. You're having the same field of vision, and maybe you're spotting a guy off in the distance that they don't see, but it's really intense.
Yeah. So have you played any other of the games that kind of inspired this or that came to it? Did you play DayZ or any of those other games?
I didn't, and I didn't actually, because most of the time I don't like multiplayer shooters. I don't have a really great time because of the competitive nature of them and whatnot. Like, I find that I'm not, like I've said, and you disagree, I'm not super great at games. So getting into like a high pressure thing where I'm playing something like a CSGO, or I'm even playing, like a Battlefield, is usually something I don't like because of the like constant shooting and yelling of everybody.
Right.
But this game, on the other hand, I've had a blast with. When we played with Will, was great. Will and I played on July 4th while fireworks were going off, so I was like really confused. And then I just played. I played a game with Brian Wade and two of his friends. I think actually a friend of the show, David, also was on there. And I had a great time. Like, I really love playing this game with people more than I like playing it solo, which is not something I normally do.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, this is one of the most fun multiplayer games for, even though that 90% of the time you die in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah,
it still ends up being a real blast to play. But yeah, so like tying it back to, so I played a little bit of DayZ. When it was still a Arma 2 mod, and it kind of first started getting some spotlight on it. And that had a lot of the same sort of feel. Yeah. But the problem with that game is that it's essentially, and this is the same deal with, I think, Rust and some of those other games, is that they lead to a lot of the same sort of emergent kind of like, gameplay and storytelling stuff that comes out of this. And they make for real fun things to watch. But the problem with those games is that there's no conflict escalation built in.
Right.
And so what tends to happen is you either spend forever not ever getting anything and just completely lose interest, or you do manage to kind of get cut yourself a swath of land and some decent items and such, only to have it all taken away the first time you die, because it's still permadeath. You still start back at nothing. I really like how this game takes the gameplay of those games, this kind of third person with some bits of kind of more realistic shooting than more arcadey FPSs tend to have. It has like bullet drop and stuff like that. It takes that and then forces the game to escalate and take place in a set amount of time. Right? The game can only last like an hour tops, because at that point the circle's so small that no one can fit in it.
Even if it was like you and your friend were the only two left, I think it's standing back to back, one of you would get killed by the blue wall.
Yeah, whoever has the lowest health and the least amount of energy drinks in them is going to be the one that dies.
Exactly. So I want to tell a couple of quick stories. One things that I really adore about this game. One, the fact that there's vehicles allows for there being vehicle kills, which is my favorite.
Yes.
I think I'm equal right now. I don't have a lot of kills because I mostly hide when I play. But I think I'm equal between gun kills and vehicle kills.
That's excellent.
And two, I haven't done it yet. I haven't killed anybody with a melee, which I really want to. But I did manage to kill someone with a crossbow, and that felt really great.
Excellent. There's a lot of people posting YouTube montages of like great elements great moments in streams.
Yeah.
Just like collected moments from like that week in Twitch streamers playing this game. And they're kind of always divided up into certain segments.
Yeah.
And one of them is always crossbow kills.
Yeah.
And one of them is always vehicle kills.
Yes.
It's always a really good time.
I'm gonna have to find some of these.
So I have a pretty fun story about vehicles too. So my brother got me into this game. When I was out visiting my family, he was playing this a lot and is still playing this a lot, and I grabbed it so that I could play with him and have some quality brother time.
Yeah.
When I came back, I was playing with a couple of friends of mine who had also been playing for a while, Connor and Jer, and three of us just hopped into a game together, and we dropped one of the most populous zones in the game. Tends to be because of the good loot there, the military base.
Yeah.
And so we're in military base, and we're trying to get some stuff and get our way out. We find a vehicle that's really close to we have to get out because of the circle. So we find a vehicle and we start getting into it. As soon as we do, there's some guys like shooting at us.
Mm-hmm.
So we get one of our guys gets knocked down, and we knock down two of theirs. I think they have a third person around still. So we get our buddy up. All three of us hop in the vehicle, and I go run over three people. So I got 3 vehicle kills like right in a row.
Nice.
Both of my friends are really low health, and they're in the back of the car, and I'm driving.
Yeah.
And we're driving down the road, and 2 people just pop out of the road and just start shooting the vehicle down.
Mm-hmm.
And they kill both of my friends that I was in the vehicle with. And not even this time, it's not like knocked down and get packed up again. They just get brutalized.
Yeah.
So I just immediately U-turn the vehicle, turn it around, go run over those 2 guys, and then bolt towards the bridge.
Yeah.
And
nice.
So I'm trying to make a hasty escape, but I don't have any friends anymore. So at this point, it's all rampage. I don't care if I live or die.
Yeah.
So I'm just racing across the bridge, and some guy pops out right in front of the vehicle and just sprays down the entire front of the windshield, and I get killed.
Yeah.
But the vehicle continues on and runs him over.
Killed by inertia.
So I got 6 kills total, all with vehicle.
That's fantastic.
It was a very, very fun experience.
That's great. The closest I've got to compare is I was driving to get to the circle, and I saw someone, and they quickly ducked behind a rock, so I missed them with the vehicle. And then I was going to turn around and come back for them, but I saw another guy who was just standing in the road idling, so I just hit him and kept going. But it was great because it was like a full flip over the hood of the car sort of a thing. Like,
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's worth pointing out this game is currently early access, despite the massive numbers it's already sold. But it is getting incredibly frequent updates and new content. So they're fixing a lot of bugs all the time. There's still a lot of issues with performance and disconnects and game freezes and such, but looking past all that, it's a very fun experience, even for the money that it costs.
Yeah.
So I heartily recommend it, and it's impressive that this is an indie development because it is. It's a very small team, led by this one gentleman who was formerly a modder of other games. So.
And if you're going to get it now or get it soon, because I never wait to get into a match. It's like instant all the time.
Oh yeah.
So there's loads of people playing it, and it's even if your game crashes, just hop back in. You're in a game in 5 minutes.
Absolutely, yeah. And I hope that this has some standing power. I think it's really fun. I hope that it continues getting content updates and new maps and stuff that keep everything fresh.
Yeah.
But if this is kind of just a swell that's not gonna stick around very long, you definitely want to get into it before it kind of goes by the wayside. So
yeah.
I think that's about all I have to say. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to spoil the plot of PUBG, do we?
No, I don't think so. So just some really quick admin stuff. If you like the show, if you want to support us, the best way to do that is patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Mm-hmm.
There you can throw us a couple bucks a month, get some access to some shows early, and get into our Slack and some other goodies.
Yeah, and we just hit a new goal to do a tabletop live show. So that it's very possible that either Nick or myself might be involved in that. So we'll see. Yeah,
almost definitely. If you have any games you'd like to recommend, you can do that via said Slack, or you can hit us up on twitter.com @ComradePodcast. Oh my goodness. And facebook.com/checkitoutcomrade, or the contact form on checkitoutcomrade.com.
All right, what are we doing next time, Nick?
Next time we're doing Turmoil and something else. Let me find out what it was.
Turmoil and something else.
Yeah, I know I had said so.
No, we should keep the listeners in suspense.
Turmoil and Domina.
Oh yes, Domina, great.
Yeah, so a couple shorter games. I'm going to be gone this weekend, so I won't have as much playtime. But we have some other good stuff that we picked up in the sale that we'll be playing for you. Stuff that we brought up last episode. So some good games coming soon. And yeah, thanks for listening, guys. I'll see you next time.